Hi, I'm Jess, co-host of the Elder Tree podcast and herbalist at Evans Head Naturopathy. You're listening to the Self-Care with Herbs segment, where each month I invite a new guest to chat about how weaving plants into their days enriches their experience of self-care, exploring routines, rituals and recipes for elevating mind, body and spirit.
Go through these sort of portals where we do transform and it can be quite dramatic and you know, the herbs were just, I feel like being romantic, but I really felt like the herbs held my hand and just sung me a sweet song into that, a new part of myself, which was being much more sort of open to the emotions and sort of delicate with myself.
That was Kristin Zanotti, speaking of her experience being held by herbal medicine during a transformative period of her life. Kristin is an integrative naturopath with over 10 years' experience working alongside some of Australia's best integrative practitioners, including Dr Oscar Serrallach, whose book, The Postnatal Depletion Cure, she was honoured to contribute to. Her roots are in southwestern Western Australia, in beautiful Cape Naturalist amongst the old-growth forests and close to the ocean. She makes her home now on Bandjalang country in Byron Bay. Her clinic in Byron, Cape Naturopathics, is a nod to both her roots and the current branch of her life. This chat with Kristin was a real joy. She's open, honest, and very generous in her sharing of both her story and her wisdom. We begin with a beautiful childhood memory that sparked her earliest interest in plant medicine. Sitting in the lounge room with her mum, sharing a magazine that provided a packet of seeds for both mum and daughter and inspired Kristin to get her own little herb garden going. She speaks of the power of putting a seed in the ground and watching it come up. Kristin's childhood was steeped in natural medicine and home remedies, from witnessing the power of homeopathics during the pregnancy and birth of her younger siblings, to the onion thrown in the fire wrapped in foil to warm for an onion poultice for an earache. And it's clear this profoundly impacted her journey down the plant path. Kristin shares many moments of transformation and growth, taking us from Western Australia to India and finally to her home in the Northern Rivers, and touching on the way that the plants have helped her when at times she's felt like her world has been crumbling down. She shares how an experience with a beautifully nourishing nervous system tincture helped cement her decision to become a naturopath. What followed was a journey of study, from traditional herbal wisdom through to clinical naturopathy, all while growing and nurturing a beautiful daughter. Kristin shares her thoughts on self-care at its essence, being all about listening and paying attention, getting right back to basics, like good food, hydration, and warmth. She talks about the barriers to self-care perhaps being an invitation to listen. When nervous system overload has us feeling numb, let's try tuning in rather than zoning out. We chat about incorporating herbs into our daily routines in a food as medicine kind of way. Think delicious medicinal hot chockies or spiced dandelion. Yum! Kristin's description of soothing the nervous system with delicious herbal oils woven into her days is so beautiful. She speaks of how wearing the oils feels like you have the herbs with you all day. And we're lucky enough that she shares a beautiful recipe for a delicious rose body oil.
Hi Kristin, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you, Jess. It's very wonderful and exciting to be here.
Yes. So I know that presently you are practicing in Byron Bay, but I also know that you have had a long relationship with herbs and herbal medicine, supporting not only yourself but also your clients. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to begin by delving back into your history and finding out from you how your relationship with plant medicine began.
Yeah, beautiful. It was such a delight thinking about this because it really took me on such a lovely journey. And so my roots are in Western Australia. I was born in Perth and I was lucky enough to grow up in the southwest of WA. And when my parents sort of separated when I was 3 or 4, and Mum met a new chap my stepdad, Wog, and he was living out at a little farmhouse out at Cape Naturalist, which is, if anyone knows where Dunsborough is, it's was a small town back then. It's quite a big town now, but it's a beautiful part of the region. It's about 15 minutes away from Dunsborough. And, lots of old growth forests, lots of beautiful ocean. And, I was lucky enough to sort of grow up in this very sort of close to nature sort of, living. And, when my mum and my stepdad got together, they, really created a beautiful home. And, I mean, the farmhouse itself was very old, and there was electricity, but it was, everything was lit by a fire in terms of hot water. The kitchen had a stove that was just, a wood stove, so all the cooking was done on that. And then the fireplace, in the lounge room to heat the house. So it was sort of... very kind of rustic, but it was, I feel like when I think to my memories of plant medicine, I think of that house. And I think the memory that really sort of sparks it was sitting in the lounge room with Mum, and she used to subscribe to like a magazine that, they'd send a publication and then they'd send some seeds, and there was a little kids section that you could spend your $2 a month pocket money and subscribe. And it was I think it was called like Harry Herb Club or something, and it was like a little kids, I'd get my own publication, I'd get a little packet of seeds too, like Mum, and that was sort of our special time, because she was a busy mama. There was three of us kids at that point. And that was the time we'd connect, we'd chat over the plants, I'd help her a bit in the garden, and then I'd get my own little plant garden happening. And, I built a little mecca out of my stepdad's, I was a bricklayer, so there was lots of bricks laying around the house. So I remember making this like little zone, and that's where all my plants lived. And just the power of putting a seed in the ground and watching it come up, it was like incredible. So, that's sort of where it began. And around that time, my mum and my stepdad wanted to, have some more children. There was sort of three of us, but they wanted to have some kids too. And, there was a little bit of, Mum had some medical stuff, and, there was a bit of uncertainty whether she was going to be able to have more kids. But she conceived my brother, and so that was very exciting. And I remember at that time she was really into... studying natural medicine and homeopathy, and so that's when that really came into my consciousness. And I really remember that excitement of that pregnancy with my brother, and sort of helping Mum get the room ready for his arrival, and the little homeopathic pills, and the calendula cream, and all the little bottles of things, the cloth nappies, and it's just remember it so clearly. And one really special thing that she did was she ordered bags of dried herbs, and she actually made his mattress for his cot completely out of herbs. So he slept on this little bed of, it was chamomile, and I remember there was a lot of chamomile in there. I can't quite remember what else was there, but it's such a beautiful memory of coming home from school and going in to pick up my beautiful baby brother and from the cot, and just smelling, all the herbs on his skin. And so my beautiful mama definitely started that journey for me and brought that to life. And, really lucky that they were very much into we didn't really go to the doctors. It was sort of home remedies, or a trip to the osteopath if the acupuncturist if things were really bad. Another memory that I have is just I used to get quite a few earaches as a kid, and Mum would stoke up the fire in the kitchen, and just wrap an onion in some alfoil and throw it into the fire. And I just remember sort of laying on Mum's lap and getting the onion juice in the ear, and the relief. So that was really special. And then so they actually went on and had 2 more children after that. So Mum's medical things were definitely fixed. She was extremely fertile, and just by that stage we'd sort of moved out to some land that my parents had bought, and they built a shed on it to sort of temporarily live in. But the kids kept coming, and then we were sort of in that shed for quite a while. It was a very colourful and small household. And one thing that I just really remember amongst the chaos with all, 6 kids, were 2 remedies that Mum pretty much brought us kids up on, apart from, food and water, were, tincture of myrrh. She always had a little bottle of tincture of myrrh around. There's always one in the handbag, one in the glove box, and, one in the kitchen, and rescue remedy. So pretty much, there's not too many things that those 2 remedies didn't cover in terms of when you're on the go and you're busy. If, you get a dose of arnica if you're at home if you'd had a bad knock, but if you'd had a scrape or a bit of a shock or, whatever, a sore throat, Mum would just be like, tincture of myrrh. So I really remember that. It's really cute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's not one that a lot of people would be familiar with, tincture of myrrh. Do you want to go into that a little bit more about what that herb's used for?
Yeah, well, I guess because it's just such a great antibacterial, and so hence for the sore throats and the scrapes, it was sort of her answer to betadine. And yeah, we had a little, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the tinderbox, but it's a beautiful herbal apothecary over in Western Australia. So Mum would get a box of tinderbox, and so they had, it was a diluted sort of tincture, so it was sort of you could use it straight away. So it's interesting, isn't it? Because I do use it occasionally in sort of gut things or stealth pathogens, because it is such a strong herb. Obviously for anything oral, but it's a herb with a lot of history, obviously, and a lot of mystique, and I feel like I'm still getting to know it.
It's interesting how herbs fall out of our dispensaries. There's a lot that I feel have done that, and it's often the ones that you mentioned, like myrrh, that have that really broad application that we could use to do so many things at the moment.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. Yeah, so the journey sort of continued. When I left home, I went travelling for a couple of years. I went and lived overseas. I did a lot of cycling through Europe, and when I'd always had India on my heart, so I always knew that I was going to end up in India before I came home. And I always knew it was going to be something big was going to happen for me in India. And when I got there, I'd sort of reached a place in my life where I'd sort of been travelling on a track, and I knew that it was time to change a track. Sort of my childhood was over. I was 20 at this point, and just sort of emerging into being a young woman. And I sort of did a little bit of inventory on, like how I'd, my childhood and where I was headed and where I was at. And I sort of could feel that I had a lot of things inside that needed to change. I think sort of growing up in a busy environment, and Mum had some mental health things that, made the situation quite dynamic at times. And so I think my way of sort of getting through that was really just like bunkering down and just sort of going full steam ahead, just getting on with it basically. And when I got to India and sort of really touched in on the heart space, I was like, oh, I've got some stuff in there that needs to come out. And so I said a bit of a prayer to a full moon in Goa, and as you do. And anyway, a few days later, I started getting these really, I didn't know what was happening, but really intense symptoms, which, I guess are medically known as panic attacks. At the time, it just felt like my world was sort of crumbling down, and on some deeper level, I knew that it needed to, and that I needed to come into a very deep space in my heart and actually just really feel my feelings and not just get on with it. But I think when you're used to doing that, it's a quite a big thing to open up that door. So when I came back to Australia, you know, they were really in full force. It was almost like a part of my reality had changed, and I was getting on with everything and doing just fine, but I could feel inside just this real emotions and shakiness, and my nervous system was just, you know, really singing out for needing some TLC. So that's when I guess, you know, herbal medicine really re-emerged back into my life again. I went and saw a naturopath in my hometown in Dunsborough, who is beautiful Tara Nelson, who's still there practicing. She's a wonderful thyroid specialist, as most of us know. And I remember we had a consult and she mixed me up. I remember there was skullcap in there, because I remember looking at that name and going, oh, that's a weird name. And I was getting a lot of tension in the top of my head, and she was explaining how it's so good for that. And I thought, oh, wow, like there's actually a name for this. There's actually, you know, she understands what I'm saying, like, and that was so powerful, being understood, number one. And then two, the herbs. I just couldn't believe it, like 1 or 2 doses of herbs, and I already could feel just the magic of the herbs just seeping into my nervous system and just regulating and making me feel just more balanced. And at that point I knew that, you know, everything was going to be okay. It was just heading into a new space. And and pretty much I think after my second bottle of herbs, I think there was some St John's wort, some maybe lemon balm or passion flower, some oats, that kind of thing. After my second bottle of that, I was like, right, I want to be a naturopath, that's it. So that's sort of where it all began. And I think for most of us, it's with some sort of health journey or some sort of journey where we really are really drawn into the powerful medicine that the plants can offer us.
Mm-hmm. Before we move on, Kristin, I just wanted to say how much I love that the impact that your mum and those early experiences had on your journey. I think as mothers, we put a lot of effort into our children, not knowing, you know, whether these little things that we're weaving into their days are going to have an impact. And it's really lovely to hear that those memories are so strong and those experiences really shaped who you are today.
Thanks, Jess. Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to say too is that you really emphasised a really important part of our profession, and that's being heard. You know, that really changed your path, seeing Tara and having her hear and put into words those things that you're experiencing, and experiencing that shift that, you know, she understood and she heard you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that too. I really love being present with clients, and it does feel like that therapeutic relationship is just not to be underestimated. I mean, yeah, it's really special.
Mm-hmm. So that was that experience and that shift in your health and that experience with the herbs was really a defining moment for you.
Absolutely. It was incredible. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, like I feel so much better. And it was a difficult transition in my life. And, you know, we go through these sort of portals where we do transform, and it can be quite dramatic. And you know, the herbs were just, I feel like being romantic, but I really felt like the herbs held my hand and just sung me a sweet song into that, a new part of myself, which was being much more sort of open to the emotions and sort of delicate with myself. And that's special.
And how did those changes in yourself affect the next part of your journey?
Yeah, so I decided to study at the Perth Academy of Natural Therapies. I did a little bit online, or not online, but like remote or whatever. They used to post out the books, and then I decided to move up to the city, and I think I was about 2 years into that for a 3-year diploma. And that was great studying there because they were very traditional. We did a lot of iridology and homeopathy. I got right into flower essences with the Living Essence crew over in WA, and they were really collaborating with a lot of Aboriginal elders, and a lot of the plants came from my homeland, which is the land of the Noongar people in Western Australia. And so that was incredibly spiritual and special, sort of being involved with that as well. That was really where the delicate delicate healing of, you know, the really deeper undercurrents happen with the flower essences. And I was lucky enough to, you know, study with Ricky Anderherber. I think that's, not sure how to pronounce her surname, but she's was beautiful German herbalist. And yeah, so I sort of got 2 years into that, and only had a year to go. But again, the nervous system was just my real teacher and was just calling. It was just, I was too busy. I was working, you know, 2 jobs and studying full time and very social, and I was like I was starting to really become unbalanced, and I knew that I really had to follow the whispers of my being, and that studying naturopathy was great, but I could feel that tendency to just get out of balance again and just overload myself. So I did this thing that I thought was sensible at the time, and decided to retreat to the bush and call in a spirit and have a bubba. Which was, I don't know if she called me in or I called her, but there was definitely a connection. I was living on this beautiful property down south. I'm really trying to rewrite the stories of my nervous system again, and I was sort of met this enigmatic German traveller named Dreamer, and I just sort of could feel there's this little spirit being, and anyway, so she came through, and I decided to be, you know, a single parent and take the journey on my own, and so she's 21 now, so that was a long time ago, but that really was that journey into the heart again, and I knew that I would pick up my studies again, but I really needed to do it in a very slow way. And so when she was about 3 or 4, I journeyed over to this land, over to Byron Bay, studied at Southern Cross University and did my 5 years to do the bachelor. It only takes 4, but it took me 5, and I was very lucky to meet some beautiful women who became my daughter Bella Star's other mums, and they, we really, had that community living where we both, all shared kids, and I lived with one of my dear friends, Priska, and, she really helped me so much, and so that's, when I moved over to this special land, and finished my studies, and then that was pretty hard yakka, BTW. It's kind of like just saying it in a sentence. It's like, oh my God, the mornings of getting up, driving out to Kurrabell, dropping off Bella, just making lunches, getting to uni, coming back. I mean, that was 5 hard years of yakka, but I was so stoked to be at Southern Cross. It was such an amazing time we had the herb garden, all the teachers were just so passionate. It was such a wonderful course to do. So I got through that, and that was sort of just over 10 years ago. So, yeah.
Before we move on, Kristin, I'd love to take you back to that time that you spent learning about the flower essences. I know a lot of practitioners weave flower essences into their practice for that beautiful emotional support and how they can just add an extra layer. But I know that a lot wouldn't have had the experience that you have had with the Indigenous elders and that experience.
I guess I didn't personally have the experience with the elders, but the Vasudeva and Kadambi Bano, who started the Living Essences, they had really collaborated together, and so they were sort of sharing that information with us, and it was, the classes were very much about sitting in circles and singing, and there was a lot of joy and a lot of talking about the essences in a very honouring way, and they actually developed like a full course where you could study all the different archetypes of the human being and all the chakra system and tying in all the essences with that. So I did a little bit of that. I didn't complete that, but that was just so awesome. And sort of after studying that, and then when I ended up living on this beautiful land where I conceived my daughter, there were so many of those plants there, and I remember the fringe lily was there, and the purple enamel orchid. I know that they were two good friends. A lot of orchids down in the southwest. So yeah, and it was just. I just could not believe how powerful this medicine was. I had, when I came back from India, and I was very sort of anxious, and I couldn't really go too far from home, and I sort of had this like stage where I felt very claustrophobic, and I had the fuchsia gum, which was a beautiful essence for that feeling of fear and claustrophobia, and I had the West Australian smoke bush, which was an essence of when you feel like you're split into, like the mental and the emotional the physical and the mental emotional sort of split into, and that's exactly how I felt. I just felt so disconnected from myself, and I could still go through all the daily things, and on the outside it was fine, but I could just feel inside it was this real split. And just like 2 weeks on those essences, I felt like it was gone. It was like completely healed. And I just felt so in awe and so grateful. And, the essences have been a huge part of my practice. Coming over here and learning the sacred essences with Sienna Moon, who's a beautiful local goddess, who her essences, we did immersion into that. And, of course, the bark flowers and Ian White's essences. It's just, such powerful medicine. And I always love to tell people about, how they were used with the Indigenous people, how they were chosen based on, mental, emotional, physical things that were needed. And, big pits were dug, and there were fires put in the pits, and then so that it's all warm, and then lined with the animal skins, and then they were sort of buried into the pit and then smoked, into the pit with the actual flowers, and then water, and then the smoke. So it's like a real infusion. I always, telling that story feels very important, how it was, used locally, or used traditionally rather. And I just love seeing people's beings. Every time, even the most conservative client will light up at the mention of flower essences and get all, oh, what's this? And okay, what do I do? And la la la. It's quite it's quite fun.
Yeah, and I think they often too, in my experience, feel really heard when you mention that this particular flower is exactly for what you've just verbalised. You've just verbalised how you're feeling, and this essence can really help flip how you're feeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, we're spiritual beings. We long for that spiritual connection and that emotional connection, to talk about our emotions. And so I think that's medicine in itself too. I think, again, coming back to telling the story.
Yeah, absolutely. So after your 10 years hard yakka making it through that degree, where did your path lead next?
Yeah, so when I had a placement at the end of my uni degree, I was at the Ballina Natural Medicine Clinic with beautiful Sally McCutcheon, and I worked there for about 3 or 4 years, I think, which was just such a great job out of uni. It was a really good balance between jumping in straight away to see clients, doing a lot of acute prescribing, which I just can't sort of say how important that was for me, because it really forces you to think on your feet when you get thrown in the deep end. You're the only one on the front desk, and someone's coming in with something, and you've got to just there and then get your remedies up. And also there was a lot of elderly in Ballina population, and a lot of pensioners, so it was really sort of being thrifty and using a lot of dried herbs, or giving them a little bag of celery seeds, and just really coming back to grassroots, which was great. Yes. So I really value that, and and having the support of Sally was just absolutely invaluable, and some other naturopaths that were there, so that was wonderful. And then where did my path journey after that? So I worked there for a number of years, and then I worked at Herbal Wisdom with Pete Birkenjar, and again, he's such a great herbalist, and he named his business Herbal Wisdom after Matthew Wood's book, and so it was really great, like learning about herbs through that lens, and yeah, just such a hive of, again, acute prescribing, a lot of different naturopaths working together, and really being able to get my clinician boots on and see clients, which was really great. I also did a lot of massage work at that time at Sally's and at Peter's, so loved that. And then my sort of dream, and why I sort of didn't push on and do that final year in Perth, apart from the fact I was just ready for an adventure, but I really kind of wanted to do a bachelor. I really wanted to actually, I had this thing that I felt like I sort of, I don't know if it was like prove myself, but it was something of like, I wanted to know how to read these, complicated scientific papers and sort of pull them apart. And I mean, to be honest, it's not really where my head's at. I sort of like getting the essence of whatever the science comes out, and I think science is amazing, but there's a lot of traditional medicine that won't have the funding for science, so I sort of like to look at it with, in a balanced way, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, I really always wanted to work with a doctor and to work collaboratively with doctors, because I think I just felt in my heart that, that was really where I wanted my path to be. I wanted to be an integrative practitioner. I really felt that I wanted to I never had aspirations to be a doctor, but I really wanted to nuzzle up into that space and be like, hey, like, let's collaborate. I've got skills, you've got skills, and so, yeah, so my dream came true when I got to work with Dr Oscar Serrallach as one of his assistants at the Health Lodge for 4 years, which was just absolutely incredible. Just such a wonderful doctor, and just such a kind and patient mentor, as a sort of learning everything and sort of jumping in the deep end. And that was really when he was getting his writing his book, The Postnatal Depletion Cure, and really emerging into that space. So it was wonderful to be a big part of that, and contribute to the book, and to hold his clients, doing the intakes and holding his clients from a naturopathic point of view, and working alongside him was just medicine, the best medicine in motion. So that was just, yeah, fantastic. Yeah, so that was wonderful. And then I just started when all the famous flu started. I started getting. I was it was a big shake-up for everyone, I think, on so many levels, and I just started really feeling the whispers of my heart, which was, I really wanted to slow down. Again, my nervous system was really guiding me, go slower, go softer, create more space. So I was like, oh, what does that look like, and then, yeah, I really had the calling to start my own practice, which was really hard because I was in such a great team. I was absolutely loving what I was doing, and it was just that the calling was there. So I sort of was hearing it in the background for a while, and then I really, was urged to step forward and start my own practice, which is what I did sort of 3 years ago. And I named my business Cape Naturalist, as a nod to my roots, Cape Naturalist in Western Australia, and my branches, Cape Byron, in this beautiful Bandjalang land that I, get to practice my medicine on. So, and it's just been just like I thought it would be. Like, it's been slow medicine. It's been a beautiful flow of clients. It's really hands back on the medicine, on the herbs. And, anyone will tell you how exciting it is to get your first dispensary. It was just like such a dream come true. I still can't believe it. It's like all these herbs. I got a room full of herbs.
Such a joy.
Oh my gosh. Or, like thinking about a herb I don't have. Like I just ordered a bottle of wild yam in the other day, and I haven't had wild yam, and I just was like, wild yam, it's time. And just really, you know, getting to know the herbs that I order in and just really kind of connecting, and it's a real joy.
That's beautiful. And I loved hearing how, you know, you've got so much to bring to this practice. You've had that, you know, those beautiful experiences yourself along your journey with the medicine. You've had that, you know, that wonderful experience at uni and having those passionate teachers to guide you, and then that lovely grounding introduction with Sally, and moving through, and then having all of that to bring into your current practice to share with your clients. It's really lovely to hear that.
That's beautiful. And it's it's kind of like all the knowledge gets composted, and, you know, obviously when someone's sitting in front of you, it's like you're afresh. I always feel like I'm almost learning afresh with every person, because it's everyone's like a little universe. You've just got to sort of connect with and work out. So it's beautiful. Absolutely love it. Yeah.
And it sounds like, Kristin, as you've faced hurdles in your own life, you've come to become much better at listening in to those whispers and understanding when it's time to slow down and what your body needs, which kind of leads us into our discussion now about self-care, which is the theme of this podcast. And I'd really love to hear a little bit more about what self-care means to you.
Well, I think the essence of it really is just actually listening, checking in like all the time, you know, just on the basics, like, are my feet cold? Am I thirsty? You know, what foods do I need today? How am I going to make that happen? What do I need? It's very basic on some level. So I think it's just having that awareness and just really listening to what I need, and really like actually listening and doing it. Sometimes those whispers are there and I'm just like, nope, too busy. Nope, go away. You'll be right. Put your big girl pants on. You'll be sweet. But, you know, I mean, every time the answer is self-care. And I had a great example through just before Christmas. I'd taken 2 weeks off, which was a really big deal. You know, when you're in your own business and you're paying a commercial lease, I was a little bit like, okay, I'm going to take my 2 weeks off. But I sort of finished that and I felt so good. And then I had all these beautiful new clients that were just so full of all this energy that I felt like it was reflecting back at me. And I just had a very prosperous couple of weeks. And then I could feel Christmas emerging and I could feel my nervous system freaking out because, you know, I had all these catch-ups and busyness and, you know, I'm still getting used to that again. And I was like, ooh, this is all feeling a bit busy. So I was like, I'm going to take another week and a half off. And it felt a bit rad, but I did it. And so it's kind of just, every time it's just worth its weight in gold to sort of listen and to take those moments where you can. And, you know, even just connecting with the breath, I still feel like I'm learning to breathe properly. It's like, okay, back to the basics.
Yes. I love that, taking back to the basics. I remember in a previous life I was a teacher, so I did my teaching study, and one of the first things we learnt about was Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and how if a child isn't fed and hasn't slept, then they can't learn. And that's exactly the same as us, right? If we aren't taking care of our basics, then how are we possibly functioning optimally and able to take on any other forms of care for ourselves if we're not taking care of the basics?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, Kristin, when you know that self-care is most needed, I think you've mentioned a little bit about how your nervous system starts to let you know. Are there any other whispers that start to creep in that let you know that it's time to pause, it's time to listen, it's time to invest in self-care?
Yeah, well, I get tinnitus, which is a real bugbear. That's a real sign for me that, you know, if I can start hearing my tinnitus, or it sort of has this like little sort of ring, it's almost like I feel like my nervous system, like the strings, like if I was an instrument, my strings are all a bit tight. And this is exactly how it feels. And it's like, so that's always like a big, okay, I hear you, off the coffee, like, get the grounding foods on. The Qigong has to be every day. Come on. Like, it's a canary in the coal mine for me. Yeah, so
I love that metaphor of the whole nervous system zinging, and that's coming out in that physical symptom of the ringing in the ears.
Exactly how it feels. Yeah, that sort of kidneys and the adrenals, and so there's that muscle tension. So like go and get that massage. Don't put it off. Sort of since my daughter's left home, I do get that 3 a.m. waking, just sort of still the mama bird going, oh, where's my little baby bird?
Yes.
So I get that a little bit, but they're the kind of main things. And it's just that worry, like the mind starts, self-doubt creeps in, the negative thoughts or whatever. And it's like, it's all right, dolls, you just need a little bath. Like, you'll be right.
And I think it's so common too for it to start with that really heavy mental energy, and if we're not listening to that, then it starts to go a little bit deeper, and we feel those physical symptoms of the ringing in the ears and the muscle tension, and those ones are harder to ignore, right?
Yes, totally.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. And so what is it for you that you find are the biggest barriers from listening to those whispers? What is it that stops you from investing in self-care regularly?
It's a hard one. I feel like one of my patterns from earlier years, where one of my coping mechanisms was just to kind of shut off from the emotions. So I feel like if I get stuck in that groove, I really have to coax myself out of it, because it's almost like get into a little bit of a numb space where I'm like, go along, I'm doing my thing, but just not feeling that deeper rasa, the joy, the deeper connection. And so, but it's almost like when you're in a numb space in that way, like on a subtle level, you don't really care how you feel, because you just kind of, you're cruising along and whatever. It's like, so I feel like that's a barrier for me. Like it's just, but I guess it's not a barrier. It's just, I guess, an invitation when again, bringing that awareness and just going, you're learning a new language. You're learning to really inhabit your whole body in a fully embodied way. Like, it's okay, it takes some time. So, but I guess those spaces, because then,
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? We are almost conditioned to ignore the whispers and to push on through it. There's not a lot of encouragement or space in the way that we're required to live our lives at the moment to encourage pause or, deep listening to ourselves and to perhaps the herbs and the plants around us that could be a tool. Because we are just, we're so rushed and busy, and if we don't actively make an effort, it's really easy to just as you said, continue on.
I really related to Sally's story the other day when you interviewed Sally, and she was is it Kingston Smith?
Kingford Smith, yeah.
Kingford Smith, yeah. And she was saying how, end of the day, and I should make myself up that herbal. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, like so many times. I got a whole room full of herbs here. Like, just take the time to brew some. And it's like, nah, I just want to get home. And I'm proud to say I have started doing it. It's weird. It's like, I don't want to use a new bottle, or I need to have it. It's like, come on, get over yourself.
Those little whispers of sabotage, aren't they?
No, it's like, just treat yourself like you treat everyone else.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
So that's just a revolution. It's like, break on through to the other side. Like, self-care, it's a revolution. Let's get it going on.
Yes. I've actually heard a recent rephrasing of self-care, which I really love. And rather than self-care, it's essential care.
Totally.
which I think is a beautiful reframing, and it takes out the idea that it is a, you know, it's not a gift or something special that, you know, you have to only do infrequently. It's essential care. It's as you said, going back to basics. And if we don't invest in that essential care, what happens?
I like that, Jess. It's beautiful, because self-care is almost like just a word on the side. Oh, you know, it's a nice thing to do, like have a latte or something. It's like, no, it's essential. Yeah. It's rootsy. Get into it.
Absolutely, and reframing it that way. And I think, you know, being in the profession that we're both in, it's really easy, as you said, to spend all our mind space on caring for those, you know, that we work with, and forgetting that we've got so many tools at our disposal. It's just a matter of listening and investing.
Yeah, and just harkening back to that, you know, the archetypes that we learnt in flower essences. You know, there's all the different archetypes, and, you know, one's the helper, or, you know, which we all sort of have that, you know, the healer or the helper. And it's like when you overuse one of the archetypes, it's not good for your balance. And there really has to be that giving and that receiving, and there has to be the creativity. And, you know, we're here to become self-realised beings. We're here to know this glorious self that we are. So it's like really making sure that balance is there, and we're not getting stuck in a groove. It's like, just to remember that as well.
Absolutely. Kristin, what are some of the rituals and routines that you like to weave into your days for self-care?
Well, love my cuppas. So, love my cuppas. But to try and sort of get more herbs in there, I do drink a fair bit of herbal tea in the cooler months, but I do love my Ceylon in the morning, like just my loose leaf Ceylon. So I started bringing home herbs that I felt drawn to take, and then just putting it with the Ceylon. And, you know, that's been great, even though it alters the taste a little bit. You know, most of us herbies don't mind weird tastes. Yes. And, so it's just drinking a lot more herbs, like nutritive herbs. Love my rose petals, putting that with the Ceylon. Nettle, red clover, just different herbs, whatever I'm feeling at the time. Rose is a pretty big mainstay.
Okay.
So love doing that. And then,
what is it about rose that it makes it a mainstay for you?
Oh, this is so beautiful. So, just putting your hand in a little fluffy pot of rose petals of a morning, it's just where it's at.
Yes, that sensory experience before you even taste it.
Oh, it's just lovely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very passionate about rose, as you can hear.
Yes. And then some nutritive herbs make their way in quite frequently for you?
Yeah. Always love nettle. I've sort of giving nettle a break now. It was sort of such a big herb in my life for such a long time, and I'm just, playing around with other herbs. Red clover I really like, mostly just, again, for its nutritive value, you know, so full of, good minerals and things.
Yeah.
But, you know, it'll vary depending on things. I've sort of had this, you know, dance with coffee over the years, and one thing that's always really helped me minimise my coffee is good old dandelion and chicory.
Yes.
It's so cool.
Yes.
And it goes with coffee. So if you're trying to come off coffee, or you just really, you know, trying to decrease the amount you're having, I just grind a few little beans and just pop it on top of my dandelion chicory and put it in my French stovetop, so that it, you know, you get that little tiny buzz, but it's all balanced. So I've definitely done that over the years.
For those who don't know, both dandelion and chicory have that beautiful earthy kind of flavour that translates well to coffee. So as Kristin said, it's a really lovely one to take to introduce into your routine if you are trying to have less coffee. And it's also a beautiful liver herb, which is often well indicated when coffee's been a big part of your life.
Definitely. And if you're weaning off and you've been a coffee drinker, it's just so invaluable to sort of make sure you're not getting headaches. I love
grounding.
Yeah, totally. Love reishi in a cuppa as well, and a hot chockey. And generally, because I don't really I'm quite a vata constitution, so like cold herbs, I just don't really like it. So I always like to put my herbs in a drink, so in a rooibos or in a hot chocolate. Not all the time, but often I'll do that, and I'll drink it slowly and really take in the herbs. If you don't like the bitter taste of herbs, it's one way to ruin your cuppa, but I really sort of love, especially the hot chocolate, around the moon flow time, and you put really beautiful herbs in there and you just sip on your hot chockey. It feels like it just gets in there.
So apart from reishi, what else do you like to weave into your hot chockey?
Oh, gosh. I guess just like if I've made a herbal brew, I'll just put like a shot of that in there.
Okay.
So at the moment I'm sort of on some astragalus, and I've got a bit of rose hip in there, and just, again, nutritive herbs, and just some nervous system herbs on the oats. And
so you're talking about herbs in a tincture form here?
Yeah.
Nice, okay.
Yeah, I'll just put my tincture shot in there. So,
beautiful.
if it's a powdered herb like the shatavari or maca or something, I'll put that in a smoothie, or sometimes I'll make a maca tahini hot chocolate just for some, real nutritive sort of feminine, resilient sort of stuff. But I really love incorporating it into a drink.
That's so interesting. I've never ever thought of recommending that, adding liquid herbs into something like a hot chocolate. I'm going to have to try that.
Pretty smash,
I'm well across adding things like reishi and even withania and powdered herbs into a hot chocolate, but I've never thought about putting my liquid herbs in.
Yeah, well, it might just be a herbalist thing.
And I guess it depends. As you said, it depends on the blend. Something like licorice in a hot chocolate would be delicious.
Yeah. I even put my bacopa in there the other day. I was like, ooh, this is maybe taking it a bit far, but I was like, no, still okay.
Oh, that's really good food for thought.
So, love the drinks. And then I really love my herbal oils, and again, just that nervous system practice of pacifying vata, soothing the nervous system. And so I've always got a few herb oils on the go on my cabinet. So when I'm sort of about to get dressed, I'll just sort of do, just oil up basically, and just legs and arms, and just do a light lymphatic massage while I'm at it, just, all in the space of 1 minute. It's all just in as part of my day. But herbal oils are just, I love them. They're so special. And, wearing the oils, it's almost like you've sort of got the herbs with you. And I think being a sensitive nervous system as well, and, even around Wi-Fi and things like that, just having really well-oiled skin makes me feel really grounded for some reason, and I guess the herbs too. So,
yes. Do you mind talking us through some of the herbs that you like to incorporate into oils?
Yeah. So again, love rose, just for that beautiful feminine sweetness, and it's also just such a great herb for the skin, and relaxing the nervous system and for skin tone. I love my St John's wort oil as well. So I bought some of this off Liz Conlon last year, and that's a real, I'll get myself my St John's out if it's a real self-care afternoon and I'm doing a little sit in the garden, and it feels quite sacred, that one. So, and it's such a deeply nutritive herb for the nervous system, and so just that feels like a winner. And if it's kind of the cooler weather, or even otherwise, I just warm it up a little bit, either in the sun or put the bottle in some hot water and have that warm oil.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And is that something you tend to incorporate after a shower and before bed too, or is it usually something that's sort of as you're heading into your day?
Mostly in the mornings.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So we've spoken a little bit about, and you've just touched on it there, about the benefits that you start to see when these beautiful tools are woven into your days in a fairly consistent manner. Are there any other sort of beautiful ripples that you start to see with your body or your mind or your spirit as a result of these beautiful practices?
Yeah, well, I guess the big one for me is just feeling grounded and in my skin. And so I feel like when I'm there, I'm in flow. And when I'm in flow, it's all beautiful. So when you get a bit derailed, or if the self-care kind of gets put on the side, or the essential care, let's reclaim that name, then I guess it's just a bit disconnected, get into the mind a little bit, and the doubt creeps in, or the this or that. So I guess it's just like I feel like the plants are just such great allies to just connect you into your flow. I think it's the best way to say it. And just getting into that flow state where you're feeling nurtured and nourished, and you're topped up and you're ready to go. And I mean, not that you have to be all, shiny and on all the time, but there's just that sense that you're connected to your deeper life path, and you're connected to your roots, and you're connected to Mother Gaia, and there's just that deep kind of connection, that nourishment. And I feel like the plants are always just such amazing gifts. I mean, even growing the plants, and even not even consuming them, but just having them around.
Absolutely. And I think that's the flip side of how we're feeling when we just put our heads down and motor on. That's when we lose connection, and it's so easy to ignore those whispers, to pause, to stop, to pay attention. It's the flip side of connection when we're not able to pay attention.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. We spoke about those beautiful oils that you love weaving into your daily self-care, Kristin. Is that a recipe that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, so I mean, it's always so great to be a kitchen witch and just make things yourself. It always makes you feel so empowered, even.
Yes.
And, I'm all for simple at this point. And so, the recipe I wanted to share was just the very basics of making a herbal oil that anyone can do. And it's, such a beautiful thing that you can make for yourself and then wear it. And so I'm just going to stick to my lane, which is, still learning about it. I just use dried herbs myself. Using the fresh plants, there's a lot more science to it. And, there can be more, you sort of have to know a little bit more about doing it. So just for full simplicity, the basics of making a dried herb oil is just choosing a base oil that's really high in omega-9, oleic acid. And these kinds of oils are either apricot oil, sunflower oil, olive or almond. Personally, I like to use sunflower oil. It's just an oil that goes nicely. It's kind of light, and and then you just get your dried herbs. So, if you wanted to use rose for, regenerating skin tone, relaxing nervous system, and, carrying the beautiful essence of the divine feminine, I like to use that. So it's literally just rose petals. You're putting them in a sterile jar. And you pretty much fill the jar up with the rose petals, and then just pour the oil on top, and just making sure that all the plant material is covered. And then over the next few days, the herb will start to absorb the oil. So you just want to keep, especially in the first week or two, just make sure it's topped up, and that it's always covered, because otherwise, mold can form. So, and that's it. You're just putting it in a dark cupboard. You're going and visiting it every couple of days in the beginning and giving it a good shake around, just checking on it. Once it's sort of settled in after a couple of weeks, you can kind of leave it in your dark cupboard and just go visit it every now and then, say good day, and, give it a shake. And then, after, about 4 weeks or so, maybe 6 weeks if you want a nice deep one, but 4 to 6 weeks, just taking it out and straining it and putting it in a beautiful bottle, and there you have it.
beautiful.
Yeah, so that's rose. Yeah, you can use like so many other herbs like chamomile as an anti-inflammatory. I do love my calendula, not really for wound healing as it's kind of known for, but just for the energetics of it, because it's just carries the sunshine. It's just such a friendly herb. But nettle, again, for the anti-inflammatory use. So there's a lot of herbs and a lot of info out there on what herbs you can use. But,
That's a beautiful recipe. To finish up, I'm going to ask you a question that is often a difficult one for herbalists to answer. I was wondering which plant you have the deepest connection with and why that would be.
It's like an impossible question, Jess.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, it has varied over the years. I'm going to bring it back to calendula. Yeah, it's a plant that I can successfully grow even when I'm busy, and it suffers a bit of neglect. It never fails to just absolutely cheer me up and make me feel so... I just feel so delighted every time I see my calendulas growing there. I'm like, hi guys. So I just feel very friendly to that plant. And then I love using the herb, in dried form and in tincture form. It's one of those very gentle, friendly herbs, but it's also very powerful. So I love using it as a lymphatic, just to kind of get things moving, like in my dried herb tea mixes. I love getting people on lymphatic support because I just feel like it's such a big aspect of healing and getting things moving. So love putting it in that for there for that rather. And in my tinctures, I love to use it as an antimicrobial. I love to use it for sort of women's health, especially when there is any sort of disruption to the microbiome, and just if there's any endometriosis or fibroids or, just again, it's it moves things, it shifts things, and I think energetically it really brings light to dark spaces. It's a shifter, which... I love that, and I love because it's, I think of all the herbs as having different levels of sort of impact in terms of, some are really strong and others are the quiet achievers. And I think of calendula a bit like a quiet achiever. It's just such a powerful, gentle herb. So I love that combination.
It's one of my absolute favourites too, for many of the reasons you've spoken about. I love growing it. At this time of year, it's the time of the year that we start to get calendula happening in our gardens on the northern rivers. And I also read something really interesting recently. Traditionally, I think it was in Mrs. Greaves, this was the time of year that people started to use calendula in their soups. So as it was flowering, as you said, for those beautiful lymphatic properties, but also bringing some light in the darkness of these darker months.
Yeah.
And a beautiful, beautiful nutritive herb too to add into food and salads and things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really lovely. Yeah.
And it has such a big history too. I know it was used in the very early days of, in surgery. I mean, it was just such a powerful herb that no apothecarian would be without, and it really got a lot of respect, was used, a lot of respect, and
it's such a humble but mighty one.
Big time. Yeah.
It's nearly time for us to finish up, but before we do, I know that you have a lovely new offering coming up, and I was wondering if you wanted to chat a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah, great. So I'm just getting together a package for clients with ADD and ADHD, and this is because I find that this is a group of people that I find they just really need that sort of to be held in a therapeutic space in an ongoing way. And I have just found, naturopathic treatment so profoundly powerful in those conditions in kids or in adults, and there's a lot of awareness growing in that area at the moment as well. And But one of the things I find difficult is that it's just hard to hold the clients that have this condition, because they're sort of it's to harness and bring them back and give them, you know, all the information they need can be tricky. So I'm putting together a little package where it's like it's like a little ebook with a lot of education in there, as well as naturopathic sessions where we'll be, you know, going through and doing a really comprehensive health check and looking at, you know, blood markers and brain chemistry, and obviously all the emotional, nervous system health, sleep and diet, etc. But just breaking it down into really bite-sized pieces. So if it's for a parent that has a child with ADHD or ADD or suspected, or an adult, or, you know, questions around medications or side effects, or how natural medicine can work alongside or help to bring off if that's the goal. I just want to be able to answer all those questions and have it in one space, and sort of have a package of sessions that sort of go over the 3 months, so that it's quite comprehensive and all the aspects of things can be addressed, but it's sort of in one kind of package. So that's what I'm up to at the moment. And I guess that's sort of, I really don't tend to specialise in my practice. I like to see a variety of things, but in this case, I was just getting some great results, particularly with kids, and seeing the parents so happy, and the quality of life so much improved with children and adults. But it just really sort of urged me to put this together, and I just thought, yeah, this is going to be a really valuable sort of all-in-one kind of offering. So yeah.
That sounds really lovely, that beautiful education component, but really brought down into manageable chunks within a time frame that feels doable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Kristin. It's been a really lovely chat. I've really enjoyed exploring everything with you today.
Oh, you too, Jess. It's been so nice. It's delightful.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. See you later. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye. I'm so glad you tuned into this episode of Self-Care with Herbs, a segment of the Elder Tree podcast. The Elder Tree is a non-profit dedicated to empowering people through grassroots herbal education and earth skills, weaving a strong community of herbalists, healers and plant folk in Australia. The Elder Tree is in the beginning stages of creating a grassroots herbal education centre and healing sanctuary on the Atherton Tablelands, far north Queensland. You can head over to theeldertree.org to find out more and follow the journey on Instagram and Facebook. You can also donate to the Elder Tree via our podcast channel on Anchor or via the website. If you liked the episode, we'd love you to subscribe, and if you know who we should interview next, drop us a line. I hope you found something in this episode that has inspired you to begin to lean into those plant allies and to experience your practice of self-care blossoming and blooming. I look forward to sharing more ways you can weave plant medicine into your days next month.